Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. So this is our Emerging Growth Company presentations and discussion. So we've got a really great panel for you today. They're going to be talking about their company's history, their development, their future, their entrepreneurial journey. So I would first like to introduce you to Arlen Adcock. He's from CAI, who is sponsoring this session.
Good afternoon, everybody. CAI is proud to sponsor this Emerging Growth Company presentation. And as someone who has started businesses in the past, it is something that is near and dear to my heart. So I always like hearing other people's point of view. But it's very interesting because when you first start something like this, there is a mixture of fear and excitement. And the hope is that the excitement overrules the fear. But you're worried about business plan and funding models and identifying the people you're going to bring into the core team, figuring out what your process is going to be and how to refine that process. You're worried about legal compliance, and sometimes that means it's falling on one or two people. And then obviously, growth. And then at some point, there's a paradigm shift from a tiny company to a small company. And that paradigm shift comes with trying to scale operations. And the paradox of funding, which is getting the first million is hard, and then getting the second million is a lot easier. And then after that, you forget how you get any more funding. It just kind of comes. But the challenges grow in scale and size and complexity because now you're trying to negotiate change. Is the leader for the organization now is the same or different than it was when he started. But those kind of things when it comes to starting a company are fascinating to me, and that's part of the reason I think we're glad to present the panel. And with that.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm Jill Enos. I'm the Managing Director at Titletown Tech. Step off of that. I first want to say thank you for joining us at this panel in particular. This is an area that's unique and near and dear to my heart as an investor from a venture capital fund in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Titletown Tech it was formed out of a partnership between the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft, joined by many other investors throughout the state and in the region and beyond, mostly businesses that have invested with us to invest in next level innovation. And the areas in which we invest include what we consider the core strengths of the region. So a broadband from supply chain, manufacturing, sports, media, and entertainment, ag, water, and environment, and digital health. And digital health is a really important part of the state and of the region, and one of the primary reasons why we've made it a core part of what we invest in. We've invested in companies that are focused on solutions and innovations in both human health, health systems, health equity, and trying to improve what we can in this region, and we invest at the earliest stages. So we see the opportunity to work with entrepreneurs like those that you're going to hear from today and work closely with them to help bring this innovation to the next level in the market. And have invested in specifically in categories like brain health, in allergy detection for individuals, and in next level analysis and MRI muscle development and symmetry. But I want to just thank this group today for joining us, and you'll get to hear from each of them, and then we'll have questions as we advance.
Thanks, Dale.
I think you're second, right?
I'm John Reimer. I'm
Maybe
with
in the order.
Zyogenics. I graduated high school with a 1.6 grade point average. But here I am. Did not go to college until I was 24 and was unable to finish. But here I am. It has been over 20 years since I spoke to a group this size. It's where I had my first panic attack. But here I am. I'm going to have pauses, say a lot, lose my train of thought, speak too fast, and stumble over my words. But here I am. Why am I sharing this? Because both life and business are about overcoming obstacles, navigating through challenges, and always striving forward. It's about the journey, the lessons learned, the determination to rise above. At this BioForward annual conference, I was invited to be on this panel discussion because they want me to speak about Zyogenics' entrepreneurial journey, why we chose Wisconsin, and they considered us an emerging growth company. Well, the company started in 2001. Our name has changed a few times over the years, from steel roll die masters to medical presses to BioCut systems, and now Zyogenics. Being an entrepreneur means more than simply starting a business. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, and the driving force for many. Wisconsin, that was easy. We started here. But Wisconsin has a lot of talented, skilled labor. Besides, it's beautiful. The state has 4 seasons, lots of festivals, lots of things to do. So, it's a big reason. An emerging company is typically in a phase of rapid growth and development with the potential to make a significant impact in its industry. So how does a company known for making steel roll dies in the printing, packaging, and leather making industries find itself innovating in cell therapy? Well, we consider ourselves a growth company. Not only do we want to grow revenue, but we also want to grow personally and professionally. At Zyogenics, it's about recognizing the potential, identifying a need, and using entrepreneurial tenacity to navigate the challenges of the industry and positioning the company at the forefront of innovation. We found that potential and that need in the cell therapy market. Our journey into cell therapy was not born from some deep-rooted expertise or pre-existing connections within it. It started with a willingness to step into the unknown, to think outside the box, and to listen. By finding innovative ways to connect and engage, By finding innovative ways to connect and engage, we not only are making our mark, but also laying the foundation for Zyogenics to have a pivotal role in cell therapy. For example, we came up with some really creative engagement strategies at trade shows. At the ISPE show, the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers, we bought full-size Lego sets, thousands of dollars worth of them, to draw people into our booth, because we had nothing to show them. At the ASGCT show, the American Society of Gene and Cell Therapy show, we did a 70s themed booth with 70s apparel and 70s era gifts to give away, so people would come in and talk to us. So despite being newcomers, these innovative approaches not only made us stand out, but also facilitated really valuable conversations, helping us understand the industry's challenges and its needs. In our journey into cell therapy, which is a very personalized medicine, through countless discussions and deliberations, we identified a significant gap in downstream processing. A robust fill and finish system was needed. To address this need, we created or we developed the ARI system. The ARI system will play a critical role in cell therapy. It takes the expanded cells and efficiently places them into bags and vials while maintaining cell viability. These are then shipped back to hospitals and clinicians where they are infused into patients battling blood cancers and tumors. Some therapies that have been talked about, CAR-T, NK, and TIL, these have the potential to revolutionize cancer treatment. By ensuring a reliable and efficient fill and finish process with ARIES, we're aiming to streamline this crucial step, ensuring patients receive their treatments timely and safely. Without the incredibly talented, dedicated, and passionate individuals at Zyogenics, our story would be vastly different. Each member of our team brings a unique skill set, perspective, and unwavering commitment to our mission. They are the driving force behind our innovations, the problem solvers who navigate challenges, and the visionaries who see potential where others see impossibility. We faced external challenges in understanding a new market and internally struggled to find consensus. But every hurdle, every disagreement only solidified our resolve. It's in these moments of friction and doubt that true growth occurs. And it's through these experiences that we've built not just a business, but a resilient team ready to face any challenge. Untapped potential is a powerful thing. When harnessed correctly, it can lead to breakthroughs, redefine industries, and push boundaries of what's possible. At Zyogenics, we've been fortunate to recognize this potential within our team and create an environment where it can flourish. And we did it with talent born and the majority educated in Wisconsin. Our success is a testament to their hard work, resilience, and belief in our collective vision. It's not just about the machines we create, the processes we streamline. It's about the people who make it all happen. They are the heart and soul of Zyogenics, and I'm profoundly grateful for each and every one of them. So when you think of our company, remember behind every innovation, every milestone, and every success story, that there's a team that believes in making a difference. Our motto is disrupt, create, advance. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to this session. My name is Julie Tetzlaff. The name of our company is Diverge Translational Science Laboratories. We are an LLC. Just to give you a little insight into our name, we diverged from an academic environment to an industry environment. And my husband is actually my co-owner, and we literally took the road less traveled, and that has definitely made all the difference for us in our lives. What do we do at Diverge? We call ourselves a boutique CRO, contract research organization. Specifically, we provide scientific guidance, advice, and mentorship to companies that are developing drugs, so biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies. We specialize in muscle disorders primarily because that's the CEO's pathological focus of study. That's what he built his academic lab on for over a decade. But we are expanding into other indications as our company grows, so that's a good sign for us. So as I said, we conduct scientific experiments for biotech and pharma, advise on preclinical experimental planning, and guide clinical trial and execution. Specializing in muscle disorders, our mission is to improve the pace of treatment and development for genetic disorders, maximize our impact on patient health, and provide a positive and comfortable and goal-oriented environment for our team. And that's really what it's all about. As our previous speaker was alluding to, too, it's really just about our team. We have an incredible group of people. They work really hard. They're motivated. They're just, everything that they're driving the company every day. This is an idea of our leadership structure. So as I mentioned, Mike Waller, he's the CEO. He is my co-founder, also my husband. We have a senior scientist, 2 managers, 1 manager of research and a manager of operations. We have 4 technical staff and an administrative assistant, so we're still a pretty small company. We just hired a laboratory assistant last week. So we're continuing to grow. So what drives us? As I said, we really support companies that are studying muscular dystrophy and muscle disorders, and that comes from wanting to help that patient population, but specifically, my husband had a dear friend growing up who had muscular dystrophy, and that drove his career towards a path going into pathology. He has a PhD in neuroscience, and his pathological focus is in muscle disease, and that friendship really drove that career development. We also are very close with our patient populations, and they inspire us every day. Just a little bit about our products. Don't want to talk about this too much, but we provide pathological analysis. We do protein expression studies at the level of Western blot, immunofluorescence, immunohistochemistry. We assist with assay design and validation, clinical trial advising, and also we do some writing, data reports, and review publications, for example. So this is the interesting part, the part that I really want to talk about. So what is our startup journey? It's been really an absolutely incredible experience. It started in January 2021. Mike had a lab in academia at an academic institution for about a little over a decade, but it had been very clear to him that he had to maybe leave the academic setting or expand his lab in a different way to move it more to function like a business. So he wasn't funded by grants, he was funded by contracts from various biotech companies. And that was a bit different at the academic institution that he was at, so it was a bit of a hurdle. And also, he wanted to change the compensation structure for his team because they were working so hard and they were doing really an industry level work in an academic setting. But there were some limitations within the academic framework, so he really thought it was time to move out. He was risking losing people on his team who he had worked with for a long time and who were just really world class at what they do. And if he would have lost those people, it would have really been catastrophic to running his lab. So at the end of that year, it was pretty clear that we couldn't work within the academic institution. We were both working at this place, and that was hard because we were very happy there. But you know, Mike said to me, I think I need to start this business, and I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. You know, we were in our late 40s. We had 2 small kids. We thought we had everything we wanted in life, you know, good jobs, everything was working out. And then he said, I want you to help me. And I thought, oh, wow, this is ridiculous. You know, there's no way we're leaving our jobs. You know, this is crazy. This is crazy. And so what I didn't mention is that I have a PhD in neuroscience, but I did a postdoc out in Boston, and I helped start up a company out there called Seaside Therapeutics. And that was an amazing experience for me as a scientist. I got to help start up the lab. I got to be involved in the development of every department of the company. I was the 3rd person hired. We hired about 50 people. I can't believe to this day that they gave me this job. I mean, it was ridiculous. I had no experience. I learned so much. So my husband says, you're the perfect person to do this. And I just thought it was ridiculous. We didn't want to take on any investors. We had some money in savings. We thought maybe we could, you know, fund the company on our own. So I started doing a lot of math to try to figure out if we could do it. We didn't want to give away any equity. We didn't have to in the end. It was very stressful, very close. You see the panic. It was a lot of panic. I still panic. I still wake up panicking. It's really hard to be responsible for so many lives of people that I really like, that I've known for a long time. It's hard. At that time, I did a competitive analysis, a market analysis. Is this going to be sustainable? Are we going to be able to do this for a long time? Because once we do it, we have to do it. You know, there's no going back. And so we started looking for space in January of 2022. We wanted to stay in Milwaukee because that's where we're from. That's where all of our employees are from, and we love it here. We love the opportunities. We ended up finding an incredible place in downtown Milwaukee in this great historic building. We were very lucky to find lab space. It's not like Madison where there's abundant lab space to be leased. It was very challenging in Milwaukee. We were lucky to find it. I started doing an intense self-education process. I had no idea. I have a PhD in science. I had no idea how to do accounting, finance, business. I started taking continuing education classes, watching every YouTube video I could find, listening to podcasts in every spare moment of my time. And so then eventually we ended up signing a lease, and our building was sold to a different owner, so then we had to add on a personal guarantee, which was going to end up costing us a lot of money if this failed, so we were just really all in, all in. It was very stressful. But then finally, in July of 2022, we opened, and it's just been taking off ever since. We've been incredibly fortunate. We transitioned with 6 companies from the academic lab. They stayed with us. They gave us contracts to kind of bridge us to the industry setting, so that financial platform was really perfect for us. It really worked well. Since then, we have about 20, 25 companies. We haven't done any kind of customer acquisition at this point. It's all been word of mouth. You know, I think our product just really speaks for itself. Our team works really hard, and I think that comes through in the quality of work that we provide. So we've just been really blessed and really lucky on this journey. This is just an increase of our contracts over time, which I didn't know what data to show, and I'm a scientist, and I wanted to show a graph because I feel good about graphs, so contracts went up. So that was great. What are we trying to do right now? We're trying to establish career ladders for each position in our company. We're in this great position where everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants to be promoted and be managers, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that in a small setting. That's pretty challenging. We're trying to figure out what our workload projections are going to be long term to predict future hires, and do we need to bring more people on? Our team doesn't really want to bring new people on. They feel like they can do it, which is great, you know, but I don't know how sustainable that's going to be. And finally, trying to hire a consultant or an advisor to guide our strategic growth over time. So I bring this up in case anyone knows anyone who would be interested in providing some mentoring and some advising. At this point, we don't have a 5-year plan. We don't have a 10-year plan. I don't know if I should admit that publicly. I feel like that's something I should have, but I don't. So yeah. Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, everybody hear me okay? I think I'm on this mic. Okay, so my name is Indrajit Chowdhury. I'm a cardiac electrophysiologist. I live in Mequon, but we have 2 offices. One's in Mequon, one's in Kenosha. That's where my COO lives. And we started in 2020 out of the need for me to be able to change and deliver better care for the patients I was seeing. And so the idea was to build this platform that eventually became called Medicardia. I'm a cardiologist, so hence that part of the name. It's medical, hence that part of the name, and that's as long as it took to name it. You can come up with any great name, but believe me, people will follow your product and your brand far more than they will follow your specific name, so don't spend too much time with it. Just focus on the real things that matter to your customers, and it's the product and the experience that they deliver. I spent a lot of time designing the platform, and I learned quickly that I'm not Steve Jobs. I really like to think that I was. I have a nice design aesthetic, I think. I'm not Steve Jobs, and I learned that lesson very painfully, very quickly. What I was trying to do was develop an intelligent platform to deliver healthcare so that I wasn't spending all the time looking for medical information and digging through medical records. And so the way to do that was to bring together an interoperability platform with a clinical intelligence base, and then to deliver that through virtual means. And we learned that because we launched in March of 2020. So we knew we needed to go virtual promptly. And so we developed a platform that brought all the information together in one place and allowed me to see the things that I needed to see, as well as the things I didn't realize that I needed to know about the patients. But we needed to deliver it virtually, so we had to shift towards sort of remote monitoring and home blood pressure cuffs and scales and putting all of that in context. And over time, we found that that was sort of our first product that was able to get launched. And then within the cardiology space, I needed to stay a little bit truer to what I do. And so we started integrating EKGs, and then now we've got EMR integration and Apple Watches and implanted cardiac devices and embedded telehealth and sort of all of the pieces that I thought finally would launch the platform. And we had everything that we needed, and we came up with these great taglines: data in context, clinical care in context, and we even built in this intelligence capability that it would process the data and automatically start making recommendations now along the care guidelines in cardiology. And so we've started using that information now to redesign the paradigm of healthcare, which is doctors don't need to see every patient in the office. Some can be in the office, some can be through telemedicine, some can be just through remote monitoring. And really what that requires is a robust data analytics platform. So that was the next thing we had to build. And then when we finally thought we had solved all the problems, we realized that there was an issue with communication. So we had to then start building out a communications capability that would bring all of this together in a much smaller form factor, a mobile app. And so all of these decisions that we had to make were over the course of 2 or 3 years by, okay, it looks like it's, oh, they slammed all the presentations together. So it won't loop until I hit it, right? It won't go unless I hit something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I had my presentation looping, but that's been cut. So can I go backwards? Well, we're going to find out. Yes, we can. All right, good. Now I will just drive it a little bit slower. So, so I guess, some of the things that we learned along the way are, it's a long and windy road. Everybody's heard that before. You think you know where you're going. We knew where we were going. We were going to deliver this intelligence. We were going to deliver this dashboard, to healthcare, connect with the EMRs, and make the experience far superior. And then COVID strikes. And we've all sort of got our own COVID story that is extremely unique to startups right now. Nobody else has ideated, built, tried to launch through a pandemic, at least not in recent history. And so that's something very unique about the resilience of all the companies that you're meeting here and companies around Wisconsin and folks that are up here today. And so we also had to retool what we were developing and revisit the market that we thought we understood and try to look at it from the perspective of, okay, this is healthcare, this is in person. How do you do the same thing without any of that in-person opportunity? And when the federal government has said that telehealth and telemedicine and technology doesn't really have much of a role in healthcare until 2020 hit, and suddenly all of the federal regulations kind of went away, and everybody's familiar with the waivers that have been put in place. And so that was a godsend, really. It really allowed us to accelerate the things that we were doing. I literally had more time to work on Medicardia. My whole team had more time because they weren't allowed to go do the things that they traditionally would do. I wasn't allowed to go into the office and see patients and do procedures and things, and likewise. Except for Maurizio, my COO, who had more child care to do than ever before because he was stuck at home. And so what we've learned as a team of 4 that does not really have a traditional commercialization structure of salespeople and teams and doing marketing and cold calls and HubSpot delivered messaging, is that our sweet spot was actually through partnerships. And so the way that we are growing is actually by partnering with companies that have the same customers that we would normally have gone after. So they're our channel, and we only talk to partners. We only do B2B now. So it's a B2B2C model, but we're only doing the B2B part and letting them handle the B2C part. And so together it works really well. We're a very low-cost culture. Our burn rate is exceedingly low because most of us don't take salaries or are very small. I certainly don't as a CEO. And we put everything into the intelligence and the capabilities of the platform. And so now we have some of the largest healthcare systems in the United States that were based in Wisconsin and now based in the Carolinas that are coming to us. So we've been able to reverse the flow of communication instead of outward to inward. We are certainly emerging, kind of like a turtle sticks his head out of the shell for the first time. We're very early stage. We're still getting our feet under us, but we've got a product that we're beginning to take to market now. And we're excited about the response that we are getting, and we have positioned ourselves for success. We have no interest in leaving Wisconsin. And perhaps the last thing that what I'll close with is that the folks that have come out of the woodwork to give us a pat on the back, to offer us money, to say, hey, I love what you're doing. We want to take our devices and put them on your platform, partner with us, or take our intelligence base and put it on your platform. Wisconsin is an incredible place for technology startups to find each other, such as through forums like this, and really to be able to grow that collaborative and entrepreneurial spirit. So I will stop there, and I thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon. My name is Khalid Alam. I'm the founder and CEO of STEMloop. I want to start by actually remarking on some of the things the panelists have said. So first of all, John, I thought my high school GPA was bad. I was sub 3 for sure. I never thought I'd be a scientist, but somehow got through undergrad, made it through grad school, got my PhD. And Julie, I can talk about a 5-year plan, but if you ask me to show you the 5-year plan, I definitely can't do that. And then Jade, to your point, we've all got a COVID story. It was an incredibly hard environment to start and grow a company, especially when you're doing things like looking for lab space and looking for employees and trying to convince them to move halfway across the country to work on, something that you can't even define very well. So I have I'm going to share a little bit of my entrepreneurial story, and I will admit here readily that my Wisconsin story is just beginning. And I'll give you some background about myself, and then I have a few slides. It's more of a pitch presentation, so I'll spare you the pitch, but I'll still use some of those slides. So as I said, my name's Khalid. I have a PhD in biochemistry from the University of Missouri. When I went to grad school, I grew up in St. Louis. I was exposed to a lot of plant science, courtesy of Monsanto, now Bayer. So I went to grad school thinking I was going to do plant genetic engineering, that I was going to work on drought-resistant or pest-resistant crops. But very early on in grad school, I got exposed to the field of synthetic biology. And I was just completely captivated with this idea that we could borrow language and concepts from electrical engineering and computer science to do things like design and program with DNA, and then execute that program inside of a microorganism. For me, that was like, so I did everything I could as a grad student to gear my work towards the field of synthetic biology. Long story short, that ultimately led me to Northwestern University Center for Synthetic Biology, where I was recruited. Had no plans of doing a postdoc, but I was offered intellectual freedom and the support of my mentor at that time, now my co-founder, that if we really stumbled upon something valuable, he was going to be supportive of me taking it out into the real world. So real quick, can I get everyone to raise their hand if they live in Wisconsin? Now keep your hand up if you live in Milwaukee. Okay, so I've got good news and bad news. And I'm going to caveat this by saying that the next slide, I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and in Chicago, Illinois, we are #1 for the amount of lead service lines. And that's the bad news. And I'll point out that Wisconsin's at #7 and the city of Milwaukee's at #5. And this is bad news because service lines are the pipes that connect us to our drinking water system. And when those pipes are made out of lead, they pollute our drinking water with this toxic, brain-damaging heavy metal. And I don't have to tell you, but there is no safe level of lead in drinking water. Now, I think a lot of us automatically think about Flint, Michigan. And it turns out that, you're right to think that we're not alone, but in fact, more than half of all Americans are exposed to lead in their drinking water, and more than 3,000 communities across the US have lead levels higher than Flint had during their crisis. The worst part is that there's an estimated 10 million of these pipes connecting our homes and 400,000 connecting our schools and our child cares, and we don't know where they are. These pipes are buried underground, and we don't have the records to reliably know what we've put into the ground. So if we're going to solve lead in drinking water, which is the first problem that we're trying to solve at STEM Loop, we have to find the lead. Now, the good news is that our moment to act is now. There's $15 billion in federal funding to get lead out of America's drinking water, and the EPA recently revised the lead and copper rule, which goes into effect in exactly 364 days from now, and requires that drinking water systems find the lead. And we've developed a solution. This came out of my postdoc work. I want to introduce you to U-Sense for Lead. So U-Sense for Lead is the most accessible and actionable test for lead in drinking water. It's our first product at STEM Loop, and it's our proof of platform. When we say that we can build a biosensor for damn near everything, this is how we show that initially. So U-Sense is incredibly easy to use. All you have to do is collect the water that you want to test, add a small sample to a tube, and then read your test result like an at-home COVID or pregnancy test. It detects down to 5 parts per billion lead. It provides results in less than half an hour. And at $20 per test, it enables you to test more and to risk less. Now, the very first thing that I did when I started STEM Loop in 2019 was I took off my scientist hat. I accepted the reality that nobody cares about the technology that I've just invented. And then I needed to go actually find product market fit or find a problem that people were willing to pay for. And I want to remark here that for anyone that's trained as a scientist, early stage company building is still science. You form a hypothesis, and then you go out there and you seek to either validate or invalidate your hypothesis until you get to a point where like, hey, this evidence is indisputable that people want this product. And that's the journey that I followed. So had 300 customer conversations where we heard things like the data is severely lacking, it's an astronomical problem, and my personal favorite, that you can't machine learn your way out of it. We learned from talking to customers that the existing approaches that were out there didn't meet their needs. Lab testing was too costly, too complicated, and too slow. There were some portable readers and some cheaper paper-based tests, but none of these worked reliably to inform the actions of our customers. So this is where it gets very pitchy, but we're going to market next year into the water quality monitoring market. We've done a number of things. I've worn many hats. We've secured an exclusive global license to our technologies from Northwestern University. So that's some legal and IP stuff. We've filed additional intellectual property. We've secured a ton of grants, nearly $3 million in non-dilutive funding, including a $2 million SBIR grant from NIH. We've done some pilot scale manufacturing. We've done some early user experience pilots. We've even digitally enabled our technology with the U-Sense for Lead web app. If you are an investor, we are raising $2 million to drive product commercialization in 2024, and we're running short on time, so I will just thank you, and I'm excited to have this panel discussion.
Hello, my name is Dr. Laura Ream, and I am the Director of AI and Data Science for Springbok Analytics. Before I share our startup story, I want to talk about who we are and what we do. Where is it? Okay. So what we do is we take MRI images and we quantify all 76 of the lower extremity muscles in 3D. So basically, we create a digital twin of the patient and their musculature. This is more than just a visual, as we also can provide muscle level metrics of each and every individual muscle's health. So this can be used then to assess performance, injury, and training. So our process is novel in 3 ways. The first way is we were able to create a rapid MRI sequence. So we were able to accurately capture the lower extremity musculature slice by slice, and there's a nice example right there, in under 10 minutes. For the full body, it takes 40 to 60 minutes. The reason why this is really important that we have a fast scan time is it makes the MRI more accessible and cost effective. The second thing is we developed an AI to be able to segment all these muscles on every image. And it's able to do that with low error. The AI takes about 20 minutes to run, and then it's checked by a segmentation analyst to make sure it's accurate and consistent. For reference, if you were to manually do this, it would take 60 hours to scan. So you could see that this wouldn't be very scalable, and then also by the time you get your results, that time frame to actually act on them might not be applicable. The third and final thing is we have a very large database of muscles. Specifically, we have a large database of healthy adults and athletes of varying sports and performance levels. So what we do then is we take a patient's individual muscle and we compare it to these databases, and we can say where the muscle is for their size. So looking at muscle size, looking at asymmetry, and looking at fat infiltration. So you really get this huge picture on every muscle times 76 muscles. We're able to then color code this so that you can easily kind of like see what's going on. It's not just a bunch of numbers. And that way we're building the story of what's going on with your musculature. And that way you can really start seeing some patterns in development occurring. All right, so we started in 2014 at UVA in academia. Our co-founders, Dr. Sylvia Blemker, Craig Meyer, and Joe Hart, wanted to find a way to measure individual muscle morphology in children with cerebral palsy. Before they could do that, they had to understand what normal variability looked like in individual muscles in healthy adults, and just between variability between muscles and individuals. Before we could do that, we had to develop an AI to be able to do this at scale, because it would make sense to do 60 hours times 30 scans. So through 5 years of scientific validation, we have been able to prove this concept and our product in numerous peer-reviewed manuscripts over different patient populations and athletes. Seeing the need for this in biomechanics and in a clinical setting, we wanted to commercialize this. Our first customers of thought were elite athletes, mainly because they have the most accessible, easy access to MRIs, and also they have a care team that could readily take this information and apply it. So we started our startup commercialization and startup investors through Cav Angels and Titletown Tech, so expanding out of UVA into the Midwest and Wisconsin. As you can imagine, 2020 was with COVID, and it was a difficult time to be launching a new product with sports. So we kind of leaned back into our academic relationships with UW-Madison, and we were able to be granted a multi-year NFL grant looking at hamstring injuries. In parallel, we started building relationships with sports teams. We went back to our clinical roots, looking at patients with muscular dystrophy. This was really important because for them, precise and accurate 3D quantification of muscles is really important, specifically individual muscles. This is because with that disease, it affects every muscle differently. So in order to actually properly look at progression, you have to look at it in an individual. At the same time, we closed our seed round of funding, and then we started expanding from the lower extremity to the upper extremity and full body. First with a phase 2 NIH grant, looking at the rotator cuff, and also through research looking at the full body in healthy adults, creating this massive database of musculature using a mobile MRI unit. And there's like a little picture of it at UW-Madison. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge our relationship with UW-Madison and how the work we've done in Wisconsin. As you can imagine, as we took this product from research, we needed a partner to help us with that transition from novel technology to application. And we found that with Dr. Heiderscheid's team at UW-Madison, because they have this unique ability to work with the research and then directly impact how UW teams utilize it. So they were able to help create a blueprint on how to utilize our product. So we've expanded into the men's and women's basketball teams, as well as hockey and soccer. I was able to be on that scanner while we're getting all these patients in, and it was really exciting and cool. And it's really crazy to think that years ago, it'd be 60 hours to look at one scan. And we had 60 people in a matter of 3 days in that scanner. So it's really exciting. And we've been really blessed to have such enthusiastic volunteers at the mobile MRI unit, where we have now started taking full body scans of healthy adults to build that musculature database and really deepen our understanding of human musculature. All right, thank you.
I have several questions, but knowing that it is 2:19, I want to start with audience and see if anybody has a question for any of these fantastic founders and some of the work they've been doing. Anybody? Here we go.
I'll go to the
Julie?
Southwest Europe, yes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you didn't take in financing, and I'm wondering if this is an overall decision for the business going forward and how you compensate employees given that structure.
Yeah. This will probably be how we go forward unless some advisor can tell me that there should be a better path. Sorry, I'm just really, we're just not, super knowledgeable about it, so I'm just being honest, but.
We can talk afterwards.
Okay, all right, thanks. Way out of my depth here. We would definitely consider it, but certainly we like to own the company 100%, that we've been able to do that has been pretty cool. And in terms of compensation, again, this is just super transparent, but I'm probably not the right way to do it, but literally, I don't know how to say this, but we really believe in our employees and we compensate them pretty well, and we pay out bonuses at the end of the year, and that's pretty much our number one priority, is to make sure that they get bonuses, they get raises, and that their retirement is matched. And so far we've been able to do that, but we're only in year 2. And let's see how that goes. I don't know.
I'll just add to that as someone who invests in companies in early stage venture capital, it isn't the right thing for every company to take outside investment. And I think there are great paths, building, just bootstrapping directly and being able to have customers fund your journey. And in other cases, it does make sense in terms of scalability and rate of growth and the targets you're trying to hit in terms of scalability. So both are great paths. It's an important distinction you make, though. Other questions? All right, well, I'll start with a couple. If each of you could just share in a couple minutes, because we don't have a lot of time, the impact of how you have thought about partnerships and maybe some of the critical partnerships that have enabled your company to advance. And just to share so that the audience has an understanding of, at those critical moments, what a partnership, and it could even be a customer partnership, might make. And I'll start with you, Laura.
Yeah, definitely. So, for example, when I was talking about COVID, it was really important to have that partnership with UW-Madison to really scientifically use our product. And then that way, when we went back to the teams after COVID, we really show that application and research, as well as our partnership with Titletown Tech. It's just reaching out to more customers and having that good word of mouth.
I did not set that up. I was actually thinking the NBA, which I know you've also partnered with.
Absolutely, that as well.
Yeah. Nicole.
Yeah, so I think similar to that, when you say partnerships, I start to think about some of the IP attorneys that we use. I think about our accountants. I think about the company that's now helping us to develop product packaging. And they're all based in Wisconsin. And this is something that's been important to me is, I'm very much a support small business, support local business. I think about this through the context of the region. Even for things like fundraising, right? Silicon Valley investors are kind of obsessed over whatever's popular. Right now it's large language models and a couple of other things. But it's harder to connect with those people as partners when they don't realize here in the Midwest the amazing resources that we have just in terms of a freshwater source, all of the expertise, the School of Aquatic Sciences and things like that, all of the wonderful private-public partnerships that exist in the water space. So there's a lot. And I think in the Great Lakes ecosystems, there are a lot of great partners that are thinking about unconventional things that folks that live here think about often, like lead in drinking water.
That's great. And Jim?
Yeah, as I stated, commercialization is 100% done through partnerships for Medicardia. So that is really my 24/7, 365 job at Medicardia now. The platform's built, the technology's there, now it's growing commercialization through partnerships. And so just last week, and then a second call yesterday, we just closed in on a new partnership that we'll be signing to deploy our platform across initially about 100,000 patients in the state of New Jersey, which is about 20 to 25% of the initial captured population of about 250,000. And then that's going to move to a 1.6 million patient population throughout the state of New Jersey, again, of which we will have about anywhere from 15 to 25% high-risk cardiovascular patients, where we're providing all of the data analytics to identify those patients and then to be able to deliver a remote care solution to them. So that's the only thing that I live, breathe now, aside from electrophysiology, is partnerships.
And Julie?
So our partners have mostly been our customers, particularly our original 6 clients, because we really had to rely on them to sign those early contracts to make sure that we had enough money to keep ourselves going month after month. And now that we have more clients, it's a little bit better. And they are mentors to us, and they've been really generous with answering questions and things like that. So we've been really fortunate to have them.
And John?
It's a really good point. For us, trying to break into an industry that we knew not much about, industry partnerships was very important on a number of different levels. Since we were building a piece of machinery that we wanted to get into larger biopharm companies, we had to reach out to them, and because we didn't want to have a solution looking for a problem, we wanted to solve the problem with industry. So we partnered with these different companies, and they've given us a lot of user input on the technology. But having a good technology is one part of the equation. You also, being a small company of 22 people, and how we are structured, let's say, for example, AstraZeneca comes and says, we love your technology, we can use it in our downstream processing because it's needed. That's just that one part. They want to know, infrastructure, how we're going to support it, what we're going to do if that technology takes off, right? Because they got to get through all their clinical trials, then submit their BLA, and now are they going to take a bet on a smaller company like us to support that on the back end? So they will get in and they help us, show us what needs to be done infrastructural-wise, supply chain-wise, what they expect. So that's very, very important of what we had to do to get to where we are today, and we still rely on them, and we will be relying on them for a very long time.
I certainly would agree and see evidence that, as I think Lisa said early on in the keynote this morning about the collaboration, and you hear it again and again at this conference, the importance of the collaboration that really is kind of true to the blood in Wisconsin, I think, between communities, between companies, and these partnerships that really give the support to make both young and established companies flourish. Other questions in the audience for anybody up here? All right, I'll ask another, and that is, oh, we have one? I'm sorry, I can't see. Oh, thank you.
I think a couple of you guys already discussed this in your presentation, but I'd love to just learn more about examples of how your company pivoted during COVID-19 or any other I guess I don't want to necessarily say struggles, but how do you pivot and keep the company going and also keep your employees motivated to keep going even when you face challenges?
That's a great question.
I'm happy to start here. For us, it was sort of an existential threat, right? Because we actually pivoted towards COVID-19 detection. And at the time, we were thinking about environmental detection. We were thinking about things like wastewater surveillance. And the reality is that was the only thing that we could think of doing. It was we either do that, and we're able to restore our access to the labs and the spaces that we were using, or we just sit at home and do nothing. And so we were opportunistic. We were like, okay, well, we've done some pathogen diagnostic work before. Let's just sort of go all in on that. And We spent some time, we figured out that it actually wasn't a good space for us to be in, but we survived and even grew through that phase because there was a lot of funding out there for anything related to COVID.
Anybody else want to add to that, or I'll move on?
Well, I'll just add one comment, is that when you have creative people who are starting companies and leading companies, you will see so many different opportunities. And anything that's marginally different than the original path you were taking could be considered some level of a pivot. And it's extremely important to not chase the shiny objects, because the path to success is riddled with pivots that will take you nowhere. And it's really hard to discern which ones those are, especially when you've got people that are talking to you and say, hey, you're great, you've got a great platform, you've got a great product, I love what you're doing, I love your enthusiasm, you guys are gonna do great, you should work with us, or we'd love you to do something with us on your dime, because we'll be able to help you later. You gotta have a BS radar to decide which pivots or which conversations are truly meaningful, and dig deep and understand that. And how far does that take you from your original business model, from the original hypotheses that you were testing and then you proved was where you want to go, and which ones are going to eventually just be years and years of conversation that go nowhere.
I think that's such a great point. And I would say of all the entrepreneurs we work with, the most important thing we see is what they say no to. Because it's exactly right. You have so many more options to say yes for distraction. Any last question before we wrap up? Up in the back.
Hi there, I'm Abby Barnes. I'm also a fellow female founder, and this is for Julie and Laura. And also, Julie, I should say, I've never heard of a female founder that is underventured, overcapitalized. So you're a bit of a unicorn in that. Usually, there's money versus where the mentors. And Jill is a great one. I personally attest to that. But could you both speak to any challenges you both have faced uniquely as female founders?
So I think I'm in a bit of a unique position because I'm married to my co-founder, and that is really helpful. And we've always had a partnership, and so just kind of extending that into our business was very natural. So I don't think I've really experienced anything negative or anything. I've been very lucky in the partnership that I have.
I will say that I think I've been very lucky too that the other woman I've worked with seems to be like a mindset that we want to support each other, and that's really, really nice to see. And for example, Dr. Sylvia Blemker, she's been a great mentor for me, and I really look up to her, and she's given me a lot of amazing opportunities. So, and I hope to be able to do that in the future. That's great.
And with that, I think we'll wrap it up on time. Please come and visit with any of these founders. They're here to talk more. They are excited to share more about